Because of the most recent Bitcoin flash crash and partial recovery from last Friday over the weekend to today, this may have got you interested in owning some of the cryptocurrency, to the point where you are thinking about buying some. Personally, I bought quite a lot of Bitcoin and Ethereum late on Friday and into Saturday when it was still down. Now, what if I told you that owning just 0.1 Bitcoin could change your financial future? In our previous video, we talked about 0.01 Bitcoin and how that ensures that you have a meaningful stake in Bitcoin when the next pump comes. But with 0.1 Bitcoin, it's different. It's enough that you stand a chance of making life-changing money a few years down the line.
It'll continue when Bitcoin is 100,000. It'll continue when Bitcoin is 1 million. It'll continue when Bitcoin is 10 million. It'll continue when Bitcoin goes to 20 million.
That was Michael Saylor, and we are going to hear more from him later in the video. So today we are diving deep into why 0.1 Bitcoin matters, how much that really is, and why it could be life-changing, and also why you have the perfect opportunity right now. Hey financial warriors, welcome to the show. My name is Ben Hedges, aka the Credit Shifu, and on this channel I cover US credit cards and personal finance. If you like the sound of that, please subscribe, but let's get into the video. So what does 0.1 Bitcoin even mean? Well, Bitcoin is divisible down to 100 million units called Satoshis. So 0.1 Bitcoin equals 10 million Satoshis, which is $11,200 at current Bitcoin prices, and thus 891 Satoshis, or sats as they're also called, equal $1. Bitcoin has a fixed supply. Only 21 million Bitcoins will ever exist. That's it. It's not like the US dollar where they can just, switch on the printer. Now think about this, there are over 8 billion people on Earth, but only 21 million Bitcoins. Check out the market cap of Bitcoin compared to other types of assets that people invest in. Bitcoin has a market cap of just over $2 trillion. Compare that to gold. Well, this graphic is slightly out of date because gold has risen so much in the last few months, but gold currently has a market cap globally of $27 trillion. Then we have art and collectibles at about 6 trillion, maybe slightly more, but not far off. And then we have equities, which are stocks at over 100 trillion, real estate and bonds at over 300 trillion. And then we have $120 trillion just money looking for something to invest in. So if someone says that they think that they are late to the party with Bitcoin, just show them that chart. The reality is there's plenty of money out there to flow into Bitcoin and push the price up. And if Bitcoin adoption keeps growing, not everyone can own one whole coin. In fact, mathematically, if Bitcoin were evenly distributed, only about 1 in every 380 people could ever own one whole Bitcoin. So owning just 0.1 Bitcoin, all right, 10% of a Bitcoin, already puts you in a very small global minority. Back in 2011, one Bitcoin was valued at $1. So people were measuring their holdings in whole Bitcoins. Now we measure it in decimal units of Bitcoins. So that's what 0.1 Bitcoin is all about, 10% of a Bitcoin. But as Bitcoin continues to rise in value and get more scarce because so many people want it, investors will probably be measuring their holdings in Satoshis, not whole Bitcoins or even fractions of Bitcoins. Why does scarcity cause Bitcoin to go up in value? Well, go back to that chart and think about gold, art, real estate, all valuable because there's a limited amount. Art pieces are one of a kind. Gold has to be mined, which costs money and depletes gold deposits. Real estate has to be built. So those are all physical assets that are scarce. Bitcoin is the first digital asset in human history that's truly scarce. That is because it represents a breakthrough in technology. It's based on cryptography. It cannot be hacked. It has not been able to be duplicated, etc. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoins. Compare that with fiat currency, dollars, euros, yen, printed endlessly by central banks. Every time more money is printed, the value of your savings decreases. Bitcoin flips that on its head. It's deflationary, meaning over time, as demand rises and supply stays fixed, each Bitcoin, and thus each 0.1 Bitcoin, could become more valuable. In February 2011, Bitcoin crossed the $1 mark, and now in 2025, it's worth over $100,000 per coin. What's going to happen when it crosses the $1 million mark or the $10 million mark? Let's do some simple math. Today, Bitcoin is at $112,000, maybe even higher depending on when you're watching this. So 0.1 Bitcoin is worth $11,200. At $500,000 per coin, 0.1 Bitcoin will be $50,000. At $1 million per coin, 0.1 Bitcoin will be $100,000. And at $10 million per Bitcoin, 0.1 Bitcoin will be $1 million. Unless you're a millionaire already, that is going to be life-changing money. Invested right, $1 million could really change your life and put you on the path to never having to work again. Actually, even $100,000 could be enough to you to buy, say, an Airbnb rental property with a mortgage, but increase your monthly income by, say, $1,000 or $2,000 after expenses. It could still be kind of life-changing, although not truly life-changing. And some respected investors like Michael Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy, who started buying Bitcoin in 2020, believe Bitcoin could eventually surpass $1 million per coin and then go even higher as adoption spreads and scarcity tightens. If you listen to Saylor, you really get the feeling that we are still early.
There's a trend right now for publicly traded companies to recapitalize on Bitcoin. Our company was the first in 2020. Then there were 2 or 3. And then there were 10, and then there were 20. Right now, there's more than 180.
He goes on to talk about expecting thousands of companies across the world to follow suit and have cash reserves stored in Bitcoin. Because it doesn't suffer from inflation like US dollars, and this corporate ownership will make Bitcoin even more scarce and push up that price even more. He then talks about how we haven't really even seen mainstream adoption yet. Sure, you have Bitcoin exchanges like Coinbase and Gemini, and you can send Bitcoin to people through Cash App, but it's not truly mainstream yet. Here's what he says.
I look forward to the day when Apple builds it into the iPhone, when Google builds it into the Android operating system.
The idea he gives is that Bitcoin is still like the internet in the 1990s. People know the technology is important, but are still figuring out what to actually use it for. In the future, as tech gets smarter and smarter, you could have Bitcoin and crypto wallets built into every smartphone. You could have a self-driving electric car, for example, that when you're not using it, goes out and taxis people around like an Uber, and it gets paid in Bitcoin. And that Bitcoin is then stored in an account linked to that car, and it appreciates in value over time. Then anytime maintenance is needed, you can pay for it directly from the car's own account. Maybe your smart refrigerator has a Bitcoin account too, and when it senses that you are low on groceries because its internal cameras have detected that there's no cabbage in the vegetable crisper or whatever, it orders more groceries to be delivered directly from its account. Perhaps the fridge then tells the car how much money it needs for groceries, and the car then puts in a few more hours in the evening as a robo-taxi earning Bitcoin, and then transfers that Bitcoin to the refrigerator to pay for the groceries. If you think about the future applications as AI becomes more advanced, the possibilities are endless. When you hold Bitcoin, and even just 0.1 Bitcoin, you're opting into a new kind of financial system built on transparency and technology instead of trust and manipulation. It's your savings secured by cryptography, not by a politician's promise. And the value of that is misunderstood by most people. But Michael Saylor likens it to the invention of electricity or the automobile, with skeptics criticizing it even as the value goes up dramatically.
I think you're going to see the ebb and flow of that set of misconceptions and that anxiety. It'll continue when Bitcoin is 100,000. It'll continue when Bitcoin is 1 million. It'll continue when Bitcoin is 10 million. It'll continue when Bitcoin goes to 20 million.
And notice that he said $20 million a coin there. Is that really possible? Well, that would give Bitcoin around a $400 trillion market cap, which is not necessarily unrealistic if it really becomes a mainstream financial instrument compared to stocks or bonds. Plus, we have years of future inflation of the US dollar, and that would represent around a 200x increase in the price from now. So if going back to our original point, you have 0.1 Bitcoin worth around $10,000 today, and it does do a 200x increase. That takes you up to around $2 million. Life-changing money. You don't need to buy a full Bitcoin. You just need to start, even with 0.01 Bitcoin. But 0.1 Bitcoin is a meaningful goal, something achievable for many people, yet scarce enough to matter. If you want to get started in Bitcoin, check out the link to Gemini Brokerage below. It is my favorite crypto brokerage because of how by the book they are. They operate under the New York crypto license, which is the strictest in the country. And they're currently running a promotion where new account holders who trade just $100 worth of any cryptocurrency, including Bitcoin, get $50 of free crypto. You can choose which one you want. I suggest choosing Bitcoin, deposited in their account. And that will get you off to a great start investing in Bitcoin. Now, just lastly, guys, don't be alarmed or annoyed if Bitcoin does go down like 50, 60, 70% in the short term. And by short term, I mean in the next 1, 2, 3 years. Historically, it has run in a 4-year cycle. And those 70% drops have always been replaced by new all-time highs a few years on. Right now, the 4-year cycle might be a little bit different just because we have so many companies buying Bitcoin, we have ETFs, we have a lot of institutional interest which is stabilizing it, and there are some kind of different signals going on to the normal 4-year cycle. But it might not be that different. So just know what type of investment this is. It is a long-term investment that's very volatile in the short term. So don't use money that you may need in the near future to buy Bitcoin. And remember, this is not financial advice. All right, guys, that is the video for today. Please subscribe if you're new. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.